afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another new edition of Africa Today, where we get you the latest news and events taking place on the African scene. And we will start off with our major top stories and reports. Tunisians vote for a new president. Tunisian polling agencies are forecasting that conservative law professor Kais Saied has overwhelmingly won the North African country's presidential elections. We have more details in the following report.
A business tycoon fresh out of jail and a conservative academic are battling in Tunisia's presidential runoff after the political outsiders swept aside the country's post-Arab Spring establishment. Almost 7 million voters returned to the ballot box for the final round of the vote, Tunisia's second free presidential poll since the 2011 revolt at toppled long-time dictator Zine al-Abidine bin Ali. On Wednesday, in the latest twist to the dramatic race, presidential candidate Nabil Karoui walked free from prison after spending more than a month behind bars over a money laundering probe and tax evasion. The 56-year-old media mogul was detained in August, just 10 days before the start of campaigning for the first vote, sparking accusations that his arrest was politically inspired. Announced shortly after the businessman's release, preliminary results from Tunisia's legislative election last Sunday put the Islamist-inspired party Ennahda on top with 52 out of 217 seats, far short of the 109 needed to govern. Karoui's newly formed Qalb Tunis, or Heart of Tunisia, party placed second with 38 seats, boosting his chances of wooing voters in the presidential election. But more than half of all voters abstained in the parliamentary poll, nearly double the number of non-voters in Tunisia's last legislative election.
Welcome back, and on the current Tunisian elections, we're joined over the phone by Ambassador Hussein Haridi, former assistant to the foreign minister. Good afternoon, Mr. Ambassador.
Good afternoon, madam.
Ambassador Haridi, polling stations have closed in Tunisia, which is holding the runoff of its second free elections. The exit polls point to a landslide win for Kais Saied. How do you see this and the future of Tunisia in this transitional period?
First of all, let me congratulate the Tunisian people on holding this presidential elections. The second democratic presidential election in the recent history of Tunisia. And secondly, I congratulate the new president-elect. And thirdly, I salute the other candidate, Mr. Nabil Karoui, who campaigned halfway through the campaigning period because he was imprisoned. And he was released just 3 or 4 days before the televised debate with Mr. Kais Saied. On the other hand, I guess it's a major success for the democratic transition in Tunisia. And of course, Tunisia, as you may know, has held parliamentary elections. And once the results, I guess, the results of the parliamentary elections are out, so now Tunisia is poised to enter the second stage in its democratic transition. Of course, the parliamentary elections gave the majority to the Ennahda, the Islamist party that hails from the Muslim Brothers. But they have, in order to form a government, they have to enter into a coalition. And then we'll see how things go from here. But I'm sure that the Tunisian people will do its best through its political parties and various political forces in the country, and plus the civil society, to make this transition a complete success. On the other hand, Tunisia is surrounded by 2 Arab countries, Algeria and Libya, and we hope that as far as Algeria is concerned, they will begin their democratic transition very soon. And as far as Libya is concerned, let's hope that the conference that will be hosted by Germany in a while will contribute in bringing back security and peace, and that the Libyan people would start their own democratic transition in the context of the plan of the United Nations plan, agreed in September 2017.
Right. Well, Ambassador Hariri, what kind of support can Egypt provide to the Tunisian leadership in this transitional period, especially with Egypt presiding the African Union?
Well, of course, the African Union has saluted the Tunisian democracy, and I believe that Egypt will lend all its support on a bilateral level and as the chairman of the African Union to whatever Tunisia would request from the African Union. But as far as Egypt is concerned, the government support and the people support on the part of Egypt definitely will be highly appreciated by Tunisian people. So I call on all Egyptians to accompany and to support the results of the recent presidential elections and parliamentary elections in Tunisia, and hopefully relations between the two countries will be strengthened in the few years to come.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, sir, Egypt and Tunisia, as you said, have long enjoyed very distinguished relations throughout history. How have these relations developed over the past decades, and what are your expectations for the future of these relations?
Well, as you rightly said, Madam, relations between Tunisia and Egypt are really historically rooted. The relations between the two people are solid, and in recent years, Egypt has never wavered in its support for Tunisian democracy. Of course, some Tunisian political parties blatantly interfere in domestic affairs of Egypt, but we, on the other hand, never reciprocated that. And what we can do now, as Egypt is concerned, is whatever help or support the Tunisian government would ask us to provide, then we won't hesitate to provide it. In the years to come, in the next 5 years to come, what we have to do is to carry out all the agreements signed between the Egyptian and Tunisian governments in various fields of bilateral cooperation, and I guess that's the major development that we hope will materialize in the weeks to come.
Right. Mr. Ambassador, do you believe that these elections is another step in a democratic transition that has become marred by disappointment over a lack of jobs and economic opportunities?
Well, I guess now with these elections, the parliamentary and the presidential elections of 2019, we can safely argue that Tunisia is no longer in a transition to democracy, but has turned the page in its democratic transition. Now, Tunisia is on the threshold of a true democratic experience, and I believe that all political parties and political forces in Tunisia, and hopefully including the Islamist Party of Al-Nahda, would contribute their share in making this democratic experience a major success in the history of Arab democracy or Arab transition to democracy. Definitely on a more theoretical level, I guess the Tunisian experience is an inspiring experience for all Arab people. And we have to learn, all of us, whether in Egypt or across the Arab world, we have to learn from this experience, to draw the proper conclusions, why democratic transition in Tunisia succeeded, whereas in other parts of the Arab world hasn't met the same success. So I guess we as Arabs, we as Egyptians, have to follow the development of Tunisian democracy, lending us support, our unwavering support for the Tunisian people, because the success of Tunisian democracy is success for all free, loving, and democratic forces across the Arab world.
Right. Ambassador Hussein Haridi, former assistant to the foreign minister, many thanks for your insights, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And moving on to continue our special reports, and from Mozambique, Mozambique's election on Tuesday are almost certain to be won by the ruling party, Frelimo and President Filipe Nyusi, but it's unclear if the results will establish badly needed stability and economic growth. We have the details.
The face of President Filipe Nyusi beams from flags billowing across Mozambique's city of Beira, where T-shirts and posters color the streets with his Frelimo party's signature read in what is usually an opposition stronghold. Frelimo's show of force ahead of presidential, provincial and legislative elections on October 15th could signal problems for the main opposition party, Renamo, and also threaten a peace agreement signed between the two civil war rivals in August. While Nyusi is all but certain to be re-elected president, the peace deal has given Renamo hope of winning more political power in a country dominated by Frelimo since the southern African country's independence from Portugal in 1975. Under the deal, provincial governors will now be picked by the main party in each province rather than the government in Maputo, and Renamo is banking on traditional provincial strongholds such as Sofala to gain influence. The elections came at a difficult time for Mozambique, a poor country with a population of 30 million. Cities such as Beira were smashed by two devastating cyclones this year. The projects led by oil giants such as ExxonMobil Corp and Total are expected to attract investment of $50 billion, or 4 times the size of Mozambique's economy, and the expected gas bonanza has raised the electoral stakes.
Welcome back, and continuing with our special reports, many in the Democratic Republic of Congo have been waiting for this moment. A new vaccine to battle the Ebola outbreak is about to be released. It could reach broader parts of the population than earlier attempts. The story.
The World Health Organization (WHO) said that Ebola epidemic in northeastern Democratic Republic of Congo has been confined to a rural area rife with militias and people on the move, making it harder to stamp out altogether. Only 14 confirmed infections were reported last week, the lowest in a year, and down from 51 in mid-September and 126 in April at the peak of outbreak. More than 3,200 people are known to have been infected with the virus, of whom 2,144 have died since the world's second worst Ebola outbreak was declared in August 2018. Ryan said the outbreak was confirmed to a geographic triangle stretching between the town of Mabasa, Komando, Oicha, and Mandima, though it was still spreading at low level. Better tracing of people exposed to the deadly virus, safe burials, and community acceptance of vaccinations, 236,000 to date, have helped. Congolese health authorities said last month that they plan to introduce a second Ebola vaccine manufactured by Johnson & Johnson to complement another single-dose vaccine made by Merck, but no dates have been announced.
And with that final report, we come to the end of this edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more coming up here on Nile TV International.